In Ireland, the fairy folk are always treated with respect, but many accusations are hurled at them as well, from making crops wither to milk turning sour. One of the most common accusations is that they steal humans and spirit them away to live in the fairy realm, whilst leaving an unwanted fairy in their place, which becomes known as a changeling. Humans at risk of being taken are said to include handsome young men, as they are taken to become lovers of the female fairies. One theory why this happens is that the fairies see humans as a stronger and healthier race, and try to enhance their own bloodline by breeding with humans. Midwives and new mothers are also favored by the fairies, because they can be made servants of the fairy queens and easily tend to the fairy children. It is said that fairy women find childbirth very difficult, and if the pregnancy even lasts until birth, then the fairy babies that survive are often deformed and stunted. Very occasionally, some people leave the mortal world to live in the fairy realm by choice. They don't usually stay in the fairy realm for life, and will return to their home after several years. Of course, none of them returns the same person after so long in the fairy realm, and often people will recognize that these people have changed in some way. Traditionally, the person who returns will possess a gift of some type, and may be a master of herbal or magical knowledge. Humans most at risk of the fairies are babies and young children. It is suggested that babies are taken as it is easier to integrate them into the fairy community, and there is less chance of them remembering their real parents. When they are taken, a fairy child, disguised to look like the human child, is left in their place, hence the name changeling. Although most changelings don't get to return to the fairy realm, there have been tales of this happening, and the human child finally returned to its rightful family. The fairies envy human babies, as they tend to be happy, healthy, and sturdy beings. On occasion, they have known to take a child because they simply believe it is not loved enough by its human parents, or even take the child out of malice or spite, especially if someone from that family has disrespected someone from the fairy realm. One can never be too sure what a fairy's motive is. It is said that you can tell a changeling baby by the fact that it is ill-tempered and looks wizened in appearance. Most will have very dark eyes, and if you look into them you can see wisdom well beyond their age. A changeling will also grow and develop a lot quicker than a human baby, and within a few weeks the changeling will have a full set of teeth and their legs and arms will be quite bony and thin. A changeling doesn't always appear as a baby, and occasionally the fairies will leave a piece of enchanted wood called a stalk in the cradle instead. This stalk will appear to grow sick and die right in front of the parents' eyes. In a small village on the Cavan-Leitrim border, there was a man who was said to have been taken as a baby by the fairies, but was returned 10 years later much to his family's joy and amazement. His story of being a real changeling is still told to this day. The changeling's new family will never have any good luck while the changeling resides in the family home, as the changeling will drain the family of any good fortune that will come their way. A warning, though, to all those people who become parents to a changeling. It must be loved and cared for like it is your own, if you ever want to have a chance of seeing your own child again. The unspoken threat is that if the changeling is harmed or abandoned in any way, the fairies will treat your child just as badly, or possibly even worse, a risk any parents would not be willing to take. However, don't despair. There are certain methods one can use in the event of returning a changeling from where it came from, and ensuring the safe return of the child that has been taken. These are some of the most traditional methods used. 1. Trooping fairies leave their barrow, their home, several times a year. A direct swap is possible at this time, although to be successful, specific spells and rituals need to be performed. 2. A fairy changeling is often weak and feeble, so they must be nurtured and loved, so that they become healthy and happy. When this occurs, the fairy parents usually decide that they want their natural child back, and will switch them themselves. This is probably the best and safest way to return a changeling to its proper parents, as I really wouldn't recommend the next method myself. 3. In some areas in Ireland, fairies are seen as demons. So, because of this, the stolen person is not seen as kidnapped, but possessed, and it is believed that fairies can be exorcised, just like demons. The victim is beaten or tortured in the hope that life within the host will become so unpleasant, the fairy will be cast out. In Ireland, it is widely believed that the fairies are terrified of fire, and some alleged changelings have been badly burned or even killed by the efforts of others in order to make the fairy leave. Are you a witch or are you a fairy? Are you the wife of Michael Cleary? Irish nursery rhyme, circa 1895. Bridget Cleary was said to be a quiet, polite, independent woman who worked as a seamstress and was married to Michael Cleary. With no children after nearly 10 years of marriage, Bridget enjoyed her own company and often took walks around the nearby fairy forts on her way to visit neighbors and customers. After a harsh and unforgiving winter, the 26-year-old woman fell ill during March of 1895. Taking to her bed, her husband Michael fetched for the nearest doctor. However, it would be more or less a week before the doctor could arrive. In the interim, Michael watched his young wife deteriorate badly, and in desperation used herbal medicine to help her whilst becoming obsessed with the notion that Bridget had been abducted by fairies and was now a changeling. This led to Michael and a few fellow villagers trying to cast the changeling out by extreme methods, which ultimately led to Bridget being found in a shallow grave, her body burned in an attempt to get rid of the fairy which was possessing her. If attempts in returning the changeling fail, the unlucky parents can expect the changeling to grow up to be a sniveling, dim-witted person, who will no longer be a changeling, but will be known as an oaf. So, if the changeling becomes an oaf, what becomes of the human child living in the fairy realm? Some are reported to pine and grieve so much for their loved ones in the mortal world that they wither and die, while others can adapt quite well and live happily within the fairy realm, enjoying a long life filled with cheerfulness, music, and dancing. Hey guys! Do you like our content? Do you want to support the show? Click the link in the description below to visit our donation page. All proceeds go towards new and better equipment and games you want to see us play. Everyone who donates will get a special shout out at the end of future videos, and we're currently working on setting up some special perks for you. If you don't want to donate, that's okay too. You can support us by subscribing and clicking that bell icon so you get notified whenever we put out a new video. A huge thank you to Kyle Sheridan for donating and helping to keep our show going. Thank you so much for checking out today's story. If you'd like to see yesterday's story, click that box on the left. Or if you'd like to see something a little different, click that box on the right to check out our latest Let's Voice Act series. Thanks for watching. Stay creepy, everybody.